For part 2 of the update 8.3 refines, we'll be talking about dual Bridal Micaiah and Sothe, Mythic Dagr, and Mythic Seiros. We'll discuss what their new skills can do, including the Mythic remixes, and we're going over some build ideas. If you missed part 1, we went over refines for Gangrel, Midori, Fallen Melkorn, and Annette. Check those out if you haven't already. Our seasonal refine for this month is dual Micaiah and Sothe. This lovely couple is a flying colorless mage with Micaiah's fairly standard higher attack and res focus, although this time no speed as well. Joyful Vows has received some changes. It grants +3 flat attack and is effective against armor and cavalry foes. If a bonus is active on Micaiah or a penalty is active on the foe, grant +6 attack and res, grant bonus attack equal to the highest total penalties on the target or nearby foes, and then Micaiah gets Omnibreaker. As usual, it's not a Micaiah ult without her dual effectiveness. Opposite of Gangrel, Joyful Vows now also works if the foe has a penalty on them. New to the weapon is an attack boost equal to the highest total stat penalties on the foe or the foes within 2 spaces. This Micaiah's dual skill grants Dominance. This attack boost works the same as Dominance, but just not true damage. If the foe has -7 defense and res, that's 14 total penalties. Dominance grants 14 true damage. Joyful Vows grants +14 attack. Previously, this weapon did have a follow-up denial, but on initiation only. It's been changed to either phase, and Micaiah gets a free follow-up attack as well, which will take when you only got 20 base speed. For the refine, at start of turn, if any foes have the highest attack, speed, defense, or res on the enemy team, then inflict -7 debuffs on the corresponding stat and any foes within 2 spaces. The foes with said highest stats also get hit by the sabotage status. Now, if Micaiah initiates or is near allies, she gets +5 attack and res and half DR piercing on every attack. So, while this is a dual hero, Yoon wants to be included. This refine is literally granting the same debuff effect as Mythic Yoon's Chaos Named +C skill, chaotically debuff the highest stat and apply sabotage instead of panic. The stat debuff part is going to spread out, so clumped up enemy teams can just get hit by all 4 debuffs. If that dream scenario happens, Joyful Vows would get an extra +28 attack. That is disgusting, and to empower Micaiah's nuking playstyle on top of armor and cav effectiveness, we now have partial DR piercing. Before, this Micaiah basically relied on her dual skill for dominance to be really scary. Now you can have dominance, an equal amount of bonus attack, and half DR pierce. She also doesn't need to activate the dual skill to inflict debuffs. We basically get Yoon's C skill baked in. Similar to dual Sanaki, dual Micaiah is a force if the foe cannot get rid of debuffs. For general playstyle, dual Micaiah is a way more threatening unit thanks to her new debuffing ability, potential giant attack boost, and that half DR pierce. All of this on top of her usual armor cav effectiveness, not to mention we got Omnibreaker for either phase now. To proc the base weapon, you're going to need bonuses on Micaiah in case the foe can neutralize them. Try to at least have those. Also, this refine doesn't really add more defensive power outside high res and follow-up denial, so I would still treat Micaiah as a little vulnerable. That said, you can go all in on nuking. Micaiah has access to the current Flared Strike trend, 14 instant damage and true damage, but no conto to get out, so she's going to be left out in the open. Micaiah also has attack and res 03, so the tier 4 would be an excellent to gain warping. Like before, if you need extra firepower and or debuffs, the dual skill will add dominance as well. For other skills, Remote Mirror can add %DR, same with Brush 4 or say Guard 4, not sure it's worth over more damage. The new Ivy is really good fodder with Attack and Res Trace 4, Deadly Miasma, and Soaring Echo. Micaiah's other default skills are Attack and Res Push 4 and Mystic Boost 3, those are okay, and Mystic Boost would help against dragons. I don't think you necessarily need the tier 4, but the Sacred Seal is fine. More healing though can let Micaiah use her Sacrifice to heal allies. Maybe you can use Sacrifice to set up something like Vantage or Desperation. Let's now talk about support skills. If you want, stack flat resistance and add more debuff coverage with Ploy 4 and Sabotage 4. This could end up wasted, but it can help versus spread out enemy teams, plus you get exposure and that Ploy status. Attack and speed Ploy 3 might be better if you're planning to use the dual skill. For more debuffs, Micaiah has Reigns, Holds, and the brand new Crux variants. She already has a follow-up, but stacking follow-up attacks is a thing. It just falls flat against defense and no follow-up. Now, going back to flyer mobility skills, Guidance 4 is always threatening. If you did want to use Soaring Echo, be aware you can't use that with Sacrifice at the same time. Overall, I would say it's a really solid refine for a primarily nuking type unit. The addition of DR Pierce is an almost must-have for one-shot playstyles, and Yoon's debuffing with bonus attack is really good as well. Would have preferred the actual dominance for double dominance, but that's okay. Now, for those who don't have this unit, Micaiah can be an incredible support if you're able to use that dual skill, one of the few ways to pass dominance to any ally, and now she piles on more debuffs to abuse it. Next up, Mythic Dagr got a remix and refine. She's a light mythic X infantry with general high speed offensive stats. Technically a common mythic with the exception of one of the strongest abilities in the game. Before we get to that, let's talk about the remix for Dagr's B skill, Sun Twin Wing Plus. When above 25% HP, inflict -5 attack, speed, and defense on the foe, gain full no follow-up effects, deal true damage equal to 20% speed, and reduce enemy percent dare scales by 50%. This remix, pretty simple. We upgraded from no follow-up 3 to the tier 4 thanks to that partial dare pierce. On top of that, Dagr gets some true damage and extra attack debuffs. Good upgrades, but nothing super insane so far. For Skinfaxi's refine, we have one addition to the base weapon. It grants +3 flat speed, and Dagr has Pathfinder active at all times. Each turn, she now grants the Pathfinder status to her support partner. If more than one support is on the field, you don't get any Pathfinder. Basically, no cheesing to set up a conga line of the same unit. Now, if above 24% HP, Dagr gets +5 stats and a unity effect. The Jotun princesses are speedy stat sticks, and Dagr adds unity plus no follow-up. Good for general content, but in Aether raids, it is Pathfinder that makes them stand out. Like her Wind Tribe ult, Dagr now gives her support partner Pathfinder. Now you can have 2 units to set up the conga line on offense. Let's be clear though, Dagr and Not have Pathfinder built into their weapons. The Pathfinder status, which is given from the support, can be neutralized by things like Schism. Watch out for Ruse 4. Now for the refine, if Dagr initiates or is near an ally, she inflicts another -4 attack, speed, and defense. She inflicts more debuffs equal to the current field buffs on the foe's stats, deal true damage based on 10% attack, and reduce damage from the first attacks with an S by 40%. With her B skill, Dagr inflicts -9 to everything but res. She has +5 stats with built-in unity. She also has an in-combat panic type effect. If the foe were to have a +6 attack field buff, you inflict -12 attack in combat to offset it. Basically, Dagr covers stat debuffs on herself and field debuffs or field buffs on the enemy. In addition, we got no follow-up 4, 40% DR, 2 true damage sources, and the almighty Pathfinder. Generally speaking, Dagr herself, still a common mythic. Her one support aspect is Pathfinder, which is, to be fair, incredibly potent, especially with things like Kanto or Gale Force. If you want to be aggressive, having another Pathfinder unit may be well worth the refine. Consider supporting Dagr with another light mythic, that way you can set up multiple light teams and you don't have to shuffle the support pairing around. Now, if you really don't care about combat, honestly, you could drop Sun Twin Wing, maybe add a Rally plus Ruse or Chill debuff, that is an option. Now, as part of the remix, Dagr will get attack and speed Hexblade for free. Never say no to adaptive damage, although you're gonna need a mage ally on your team. Sacrificing some stats isn't gonna help Dagr combat-wise without Aether Raid blessings, but Devil Tempest skills can turn her into a honorary cavalry unit. 3 movement for Pathfinder can set up other allies. For combat, one way to make up the loss of blessing stats can be something like Unity plus Legendary Robin's Grand Strategy, a little risky with Ploy 4 all over the place, but incredibly strong when it works. We even got that distant counter Sacred Seal, now for a fun generalist build. Add in something like Oath 4 for easy self buffs, and Bonus Delver is another multi-stat buffer. For other skills, Dagr can make use of the usual fun infantry options, Clash, Finish, Smoke 4 debuffs. Specials are a little finicky throughout slaying, but you could use something like Emblem Marth for really fun options like Vital Astro or Gallic Reflexes. As much as Dagr would love to join in on Gale Force teams, that might be a little rough. She can use Times Pulse or Flash Quit on skills, but not having any cooldown perks in her kit kinda hurts consistency. If you're already using guys like Lord Asker, then that can help create more options. Overall, Mythic Dagr got some solid upgrades if you're a fan of speedy melee infantry. She gains more general stat boosts and better killing power with 2 new true damage sources and partial DR piercing. She will be disadvantaged due to no blessing stats in Aether raids, but Dagr is all about Pathfinder. Giving that to another ally is really good. You may not be able to implement Dual Dagr's entire team Pathfinder, but if you were to use Wind Tribe Dagr, she can support another ally for another Pathfinder unit. You can have 4 Pathfinder units at once, which is concerning. I'm sure someone's going to do that in Summoner Duels. Last up for this month, we have Mythic Saint Seiros. We may be able to hide keywords now, but Seiros just added more reading to the curriculum. Seiros is an animal defense mythic. She's a blue infantry dragon built like a tank, sacrificing all speed. Seiros got a huge remix glow up for her C skill, Wings of Light. If the number of mythic heroes on the team is 3 or fewer, including Seiros, then grant bonus stats and reduce damage by 30% for those allies during combat. The bonus stats is equal to the turn number plus 3. At turn 5, you hit the max plus 8 to all stats. In addition, grant plus 4 to all stats and breath type cooldown reduction for allies within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on Seiros. Finally, if there is a mythic hero on your team besides Seiros, or any allies within 3 rows or 3 columns, then Seiros herself gains plus 5 to all stats, 30% DR for all attacks, and breath type cooldown. Maybe one of the best remix updates, Wings of Light just went from bonus stats for mythic heroes to bonus stats, 30% DR for all hits, and breath type cooldown. Mythics can potentially get plus 7 up to plus 12 to all stats over time. For non-mythics, they get plus 4 stats and breath type cooldown, only in a certain range. The mythic hero ally bonuses will work at any range. It also used to only last for 5 turns, it now lasts forever, just maxing out at turn 5. Lastly, Seiros can get all of these things for herself. She gets a max of plus 5 stats, but that's 5 more than she previously had. For general content, Seiros is now another breath type cooldown support with 3 column and 3 range. This can also help with, say, long range initiation for Gale Force. Let's now move on to the Aurora Breath Refine. Basically, Seiros got rid of all her activation conditions. This weapon grants a flat plus 3 attack. It then grants plus 6 attack, defense, and res in combat. Seiros has Omni Breaker. And finally, one new effect for the weapon is Guard. Previously, Seiros had different effects for player phase and enemy phase. Now everything just works all the time. For the actual Refine, Accelerate Special Trigger. If above 25% HP, Seiros gets plus 4 attack, defense, and res. Her first attack deals true damage equal to 15% of the foe's res stat during combat. As the OG Dragon Wall 3 user, Seiros now just gets that entire skill in the Refine. Last, restores 7 HP after combat. So, like regular Rhea, we got Guard. Like Fallen Rhea, we got true damage based on the foe's res. Like both Rheas, we got Slang and True Dragon Wall with less DR. What a coincidence. Combined with her C skill, Seiros can get plus 15 to everything but speed. I like how she got 5 speed from Wings of Light. Technically, not useless, just kind of funny. Generally though, we're relying on Omni Breaker for doubling. If that's not possible, Seiros can now fire back quick charging specials thanks to Slang and breath type cooldown. Honestly, she's not doing anything we haven't seen, but my goodness, this is a huge upgrade if you really like Saint Seiros. She gained 2 new percent DR effects, 2 cooldown effects, true damage, and guard. You then have the big improvements to her team support with fellow mythics getting a good chunk of free stats and extra DR. In terms of Aether Raids, I think Seiros' value definitely is more enticing. For one, she is new enough for the extra team slot. If you like using the older mythics, Seiros can also boost their stats with bonus percent DR to try and make up for the loss of blessings. For the newer options, guys like Mortis or Freyr would get even tankier. A generalist breath type cooldown support is excellent to have at all times, and buffing range should not be an issue. You also do not need to worry about Seiros' bonus stats going away after turn 5. That's a great quality of life for stalling out attackers. For those already invested in Seiros, you might be sad because as part of her remix, she got Attack and Res Scowl 4 for free. Very fitting Dragon unique A skill. Scowl plus Guard is a really great setup. With Scowl, you do want to focus on stacking res, and losing res checks can be a kind of an issue. However, if you go all in on resistance, the brand new Dragon's Roar special is a go-to pairing. She isn't armored, but Dragon's Roar is essentially like the armored specials with unpierceable DR. Even if the enemy can get past Scowl and Guard, their special is going to be reduced. If you grab Legendary Male Alir, you could also take Speed and Res Bulwark. Seiros may not need the speed, but res debuffs are good, and Seiros already has Dragon Wall 3 in her Refined, so why not run something else? The Super Struck is a nice bonus. If you think 3% DR skills plus Dragon's Roar is overkill, why not go for 4 with that Dragon's Wrath Sacred Seal? But for real, all of those percent DR skills might get pierced, so you could also take a damage route with Tempo 4. With this Refine and Remix, Tempo 4's DR piercing, you basically get Valentine's Mirror's damage plan. Slang plus breath type cooldown plus no guard and partial DR pierce is a lot of damage potential. And look at that, that is enough cooldown to charge Dragon's Roar in one action. Defensively, you can also now have Scowl, Guard, and no special charging, literally every anti-special charging effect. If you think Seiros has enough new tanking tools, you could opt for more team support. Like Lumera, you could do Rally plus Ruse, or even just something like a Chill debuff. For other skills, Seiros has all kinds of fun stuff. Scowl is great, but you could do Unity or Finish. Special Spiral works, you could do No-C Disrupt like Sothe. We have that DC Sacred Seal, Hardy Bearing, Mystic Boost, Squad Ace for HP, lots of things on the table. As usual, Seiros won't have blessing stats for Aether Raids, but 100% way more useful with this update. Very tanky if Deer is not pierced, and she is able to win res checks, but also just has way more tools thanks to things like new cooldown reduction. You don't have to do Dragon's Roar, you could do something like a defensive special or Miracle to be just annoying. Overall, really fun refine and remix. They really want you to get that new Aleer. That's going to be it for part 2 of the update 8.3 refines. Pretty spicy second half. I think I'm going to try out Micaiah and Seiros for myself. Let me know your thoughts and share your own builds with everyone in the comments. If you missed part 1, you can check that out here or in the description. Thank you for watching though. Up next, we're going to be talking about the new spring banner. See you then.